It's late. Rain's beaten a lonely rhythm on the glass. One last case file to close. The name on the tab is old, dusty, but it never really goes away. Roswell. This is the final report. Yeah, the part of the story they never wanted told. You know, the official story, the weather balloon, that was always a jagged pill to swallow. But the truth of what happened out in that desert, it was a lot messier, a lot noisier than just some down saucer.
So here's the setup. Act 1, the crooked file. See, everyone was looking for a little green men, so they completely missed what was really important. Something else slipped through the cracks of reality that night, and it wasn't looking to make contact.
And this is where it all just went sideways. Just when the feds thought they had a handle on it, the Gremlins arrived. They turned a quiet, tidy little recovery operation into a full-blown mechanical nightmare.
Which brings us to Act 2, Grit in the Gears. This wasn't a solo act. No, there were two players on this cosmic stage, and you can't solve the crime if you don't know the perps. This is where the story shifts, from old-world ghost stories to a very, very modern kind of dread.
The distinction here is absolutely critical. On one side, you got the Greys, cold, clinical, a chilling preview of our biological future. And on the other, the Gremlins, just pure chaos agents. They weren't a vision of our future bodies. No, they were the shadow of our own runaway technology.
And don't get the wrong idea. These weren't some fairy tale creatures you tell your kids about. The file calls them the Gremini elite. Leathery, mischievous, these things were manifestations of the uncanny. They weren't invaders with some grand strategy. Nah, they showed up with a simple tool, a wrench, and believe me, they were ready to use it.
This brings us to Act 3, a carnival of grotesque. With the scene set, the Gremlins, well, they went to work. This wasn't about physical force, it was psychological warfare. They didn't just break the machines, they were aiming to break the men sent to clean them up.
This was sabotage as high art. Lights started flickering in these hypnotic, maddening patterns. The air itself tasted of malice and copper. Agents on site reported seeing them dancing at the very edge of their vision, always just 1 second ahead of a flashlight's beam.
So this left the investigators with a completely impossible question. Were they dealing with a genuine threat from the stars, or were they just chasing ghosts born from pure malicious sabotage? The Gremlins made sure no one could ever be certain.
Act 4, the janitor's panic. You see, all this chaos had a purpose. It wasn't just for kicks. It was designed to cause a total breakdown of authority, to pull back the curtain on the whole show.
The Gremian interference was like a Freudian slip in the official story. It was that one moment the mask just falls off. It exposed the deep, desperate vulnerability of the so-called men in black. You know, the guys who were supposed to have all the answers.
You can just see the progression right here. One moment, they're the confident cleanup crew, the untouchable feds. The next, they're just frantic janitors, running around trying to clean up a mess they can't even see. In the end, they were left chasing shadows that didn't even have feet.
And that was the whole game. It was the perfect noir distraction. I mean, how do you hide a crashed spaceship? Simple. You bury the story under a mountain of slapstick horror. You make the witnesses sound so crazy talking about cackling imps that nobody ever thinks to ask about the silver disc.
So where did that leave the case? Well, that's Act 5, a tapestry of contradictions. The aftermath of the Gremian breach was a poisoned well. The evidence, the testimonies, everything was permanently, irrevocably tainted.
The deeper impact was what the file calls a breakdown of the ego. It's that moment when a surgeon realizes his scalpel is made of smoke, or a detective realizes his magnifying glass only shows him his own reflection. See, the Gremlins didn't just break machines, they broke the rational minds that were trying to understand them.
Because of this, every single piece of wreckage, every soil sample, every photograph was tainted. There was this sense of profound wrongness clinging to it all, a variable no lab report could ever hope to quantify. The crime scene was corrupted from the inside out.
And that brings me to the end of the line, the final conclusion, Act 6, the cruelest prank. This is the part that keeps you up at night, where the true nature of the threat finally clicks into place.
So let's put the two perps side by side one last time. The Greys, they brought the ship, the advanced tech, they were the mystery. But the Gremlins, they brought the dread. They were the obfuscation. They were the ones who made sure the story would never, ever make sense.
And the final truth is this. The real agent, the first agent of this whole sordid affair, isn't the Gray. It's the Gremlin. It's the ghost of our own technology, the specter of a future where the things we build turn around and laugh as they unscrew the bolts from our reality.
And so the file closes. The Greys may have brought the technology, but the Gremlins, they brought the punchline. A punchline that leaves us all just staring into the static, wondering if this whole universe is a serious laboratory or just one very cruel, very elaborate prank. The case remains open, because the prank is still being played.